Hello, welcome back to another daily lore Reddit thing story. We're going to react to this one. Um, Obviously, I watch all my videos before I post them, so I'm probably gonna pause more, maybe, if um if it actually makes sense. Otherwise, I probably won't. Because I've noticed I talk, while sometimes I talk while the video's playing, and I can't even hear myself sometimes. But I don't really think it's that important. So okay, this next one is this one. I'm going to do that whole. I have an outro. I have in mind. I've been doing the outro for the last three, and I'm gonna stick with it, honestly. Better than doing anything else, so I'm gonna do that. So this is the next one.
My stepmother threw away every photo I had of my late mom, then replaced them with photos of herself, claiming it would help me move on. But when I confronted her, my dad sided with her and said I was struck in the past. Now I've moved out and taken back what's mine, and they're furious. I, 25F, never thought I'd be sharing such a personal story on Reddit, but I desperately need perspective from people who aren't involved in this situation. This is about my stepmother, 42F, my father, 48M, and the most heartless thing anyone has ever done to me. Some background: my mother passed away from cancer when I was 14. It was devastating for both my dad and me, but especially for me since I was just
Very
entering my
bad,
teenage years and needed
honestly.
my mom more than ever. Dad and I grieved together for the first year, leaning on each other for support. We kept mom's photos everywhere in the house, on the walls, on shelves, and I had a special collection in my bedroom that I treasured. They weren't just pictures, they were pieces of her that I could still hold on
Mementos.
to. About 2 years after mom died, dad started dating again. I was happy for him because I knew he was lonely, and I wanted him to find companionship. That's when he met Karen. She was nice enough at first, always bringing me little
I don't, I don't think that was the actual name, but obviously it's okay. I mean, if it was the name, that's so ironic. But okay.
gifts and trying to have girl talks with me. I appreciated her efforts even though I made it clear I wasn't looking for a mother replacement. I was 16 by then, and while I needed guidance, I didn't need another mom. I just wanted to keep my
That makes
actual
sense.
mother's memory alive. Dad and Karen got married when I was 18, just before I left for college. The wedding was small, and Karen seemed respectful of mom's memory. She even suggested we have a small table with mom's photo at the reception to include her in spirit. I thought
This is probably gonna go downhill from here, cause this sounds like she's being nice for some reason. Obviously, it's gonna go downhill. Always goes downhill. I mean, just like every Reddit story, they always tell you a brief description about the Reddit. So, I mean, gonna go downhill from here, or a minute or 30 seconds from here.
was genuinely kind and believed we could have a positive relationship going forward. I went to a college about 3 hours away from home, so I wasn't home often over the next 4 years. I'd visit during some holidays and breaks, but Karen and Dad would usually come to visit me instead, saying they wanted to check out the city where I was studying. During those 4 years,
I believe
Karen
that's a
gradually
lie.
redecorated the house, which I understood. It was her home now too, and she had the right to make it comfortable for herself. After graduation, I moved back home temporarily while I looked for an apartment and started my first real job. That's when I noticed something disturbing. Almost all of mom's photos were gone from the common areas of the house. There used to be a beautiful portrait of her in the living room, family photos in the hallway, and several framed pictures in the den. All replaced with either landscapes or photos of Dad and Karen. I asked Dad about it privately, and he seemed uncomfortable but said, Karen thought it was time to update the decor. Your mom's photos are safely stored in boxes in the attic. I wasn't happy about it but decided not to make a big deal since the photos weren't thrown away, and I still had my personal collection in my old bedroom. Except I didn't. When I fully moved back in,
Ooh, who's gonna tell her? Like, yeah. Even without listening to the story, I can already tell. Like, yeah, no, this is Your room is nope.
My old room, I discovered that all my mom's photos were gone from there too. The small shelf where I kept her photos was now filled with decorative items, little ceramic figurines, and candles. The photo albums I had under my
I don't understand. That's not your room. Even if it is quote unquote now your house that you're living with, not really your house unless you're on the title, but it's the dad's house, and yeah, the dad's house. But obviously, the dad actually loves the stepmom now, so he's not going to go. That's the thing about love as well. It kind of blinds you. It definitely blinds you. Um, blinds you to the truth. I won't say always, but usually it blinds you to the truth. And if somebody tries to speak truth to you, you'll think they're poisoning your mind or something like that. But back to the story. Yeah, yeah it's not her room. I mean, it's not the stepmother's room, and the dad knows not to move anything around inside somebody else's room. I know she moved out, but I mean, some parents, I wouldn't say all parents, but some parents keep their kids' room how it is. They don't really move things around. Maybe after a long time, like 10 years long, but or 5 years long, maybe 6 years long, after you actually move out, then maybe they turn your room into maybe a storage room or something like that, an actual guest room. But right now it's not really a guest room. It was still her room. It had her pictures and everything on it. So obviously
bed. Gone. Even the framed photo of mom and me that used to sit on my nightstand had been replaced with a potted succulent. I tore my room apart looking for them, then searched the attic and the storage closets. Nothing. Finally, I confronted Karen and asked where my photos had gone. What she told me still makes my blood boil when I think about it. Karen said, with this condescending smile, that she had taken care of those old photos because it was unhealthy for me to dwell in the past. She explained,
you're so fucking stupid. You're fucking retarded. Oh, sorry, this word. Oh my god, that's so annoying. That's. I understand why she says her blood's boiling. Oh my god, that's stupid. That's stupid. Oh my god, you're saying you don't keep a picture of somebody you love after they passed? Like what? Are you mentally okay? I was gonna say challenge, but that's not. No. Are you mentally okay? Like what? Some people they think they're. Ugh, whatever.
that she had thrown them away months ago, thinking I wouldn't notice or care since I was rarely home. She actually said, "It's been almost 8 years since your mother passed. Don't you think it's time to move on? I'm your mother figure now." I was speechless. Those photos were irreplaceable. Some of them were the only
Excuse me.
copies we had. Photos of mom holding me as a baby.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Hold up. Rewind that and tell me that again. I'm not actually going to rewind it. That's no. Why do you think? What, are you trying to erase somebody? Are you are you okay? Like, seriously, are you okay? That makes absolute no sense. First of all, she's not even your kid. Second of all, she already told you she didn't want you to replace her mom. I know some people say that, obviously, but she was 16. When kids say that, they're like 13, 12, something like that. But she was 16. She was practically an adult. So of course, yes, what she says is fine. I would be fine with trusting a 16-year-old words. I mean, in this scenario, if she said she doesn't want you as a mother figure, just some parent figure, or no, not a what's the word? I forget what she said, but yeah, she doesn't. Let's continue. I just babbled on for too long.
Of us baking together when I was little, of her on the beach during our last family vacation before she got sick. All gone because Karen decided it was time for me to move on. I broke down crying and yelled at her, asking how she could be so cruel and thoughtless. That's when Dad came in, and to my absolute shock, he sided with Karen. He said I was overreacting and that Karen was just trying to help me move forward. He told me that keeping all those photos was morbid and that Mom wouldn't want me to cling to the past.
It's not
I
more.
couldn't.
What? You're telling me your dad doesn't have any pictures of his father or his mother or his grandmother or anybody? Like, seriously? That doesn't make any sense. And if you do, tell me, what is that? Explain. Explain. What is that then? You're telling me that's not morbid as well? That's stupidity. Like, my God.
Believe what I was hearing. The father who had grieved with me, who had cried looking at those very photos, was now calling them morbid. It felt like a betrayal not just of me, but of Mom's memory too. I managed to calm down enough to ask if they had at least scanned the photos before throwing them away. Karen said no, there was no point since we needed to start fresh as a family. She then had the audacity to show me that she had put up several photos of herself with me from the few times we had taken pictures together, at her wedding to Dad, at my college graduation, and at a Christmas dinner. She had literally replaced my mother with herself, not just in my father's life but in our family pictorial history. I was so upset I couldn't stay in that house. I packed some essentials and went to stay with my best friend.
You're a
While there,
stepmom. You weren't there when she was born. You weren't there for any moments. You were there when she was basically an adult. You don't get any right for anything.
I remembered that my maternal grandmother, who lives in another state, might have copies of some photos. I called her immediately, and she was horrified by what Karen had done. She promised to send me all the photos she had of Mom. Over the next few days, Dad called
That's
repeatedly,
good for her.
alternating between being angry that I had disrespected Karen and trying to convince me that she
Who
had
cares?
acted with good intentions.
No, she
I
didn't.
couldn't believe he couldn't see how wrong her actions were. While staying at my friend's place, I remembered something. Years ago, after Mom died, I had hidden some of my absolute favorite photos of her in an old hardcover book on my bookshelf, a secret place no one would think to look. I went back to the house when I knew both Dad and Karen would be at work and checked the book. Thankfully, those few precious photos were still there, untouched. I also took the opportunity to thoroughly search the home office, attic, and garage, hoping to find the boxes Dad had mentioned. I found nothing, confirming that Karen had indeed thrown everything away. I then did
Yep,
something I'm not
and
proud of but
lied.
felt I had to do. I went through Karen's craft room, she's big into scrapbooking, to see if by some miracle she had kept any of Mom's photos. Instead, I found something disturbing. Karen had a scrapbook titled Our Family Journey that started with pictures of her and Dad's wedding. What was shocking was that she had included photos from before she even met us, family events where Mom was still alive, but she had literally cut Mom out of these photos.
Oh my God.
There were
She's one of those. That's creepy. That's fucking creepy. Oh, sorry, gross. That's creepy. That. No. I don't think the dad knows about this. I would not react very well with this information. That's like a stalker level shit. Oh my God. Oh, that's disgusting as well. That's nasty. Like that's just yeah. No.
awkward gaps next to Dad or me in several pictures, and some were cropped so obviously it was laughable. She had essentially erased Mom from our family history. I took photos of these mutilated pictures as evidence, then did something impulsive. I found the photos of herself that Karen had placed around my room in the house, removed them from their frames, and took them. Not to destroy them, but as leverage. Then I left a note saying we needed to talk when they got home. When they returned, I confronted them both with the evidence of Karen's scrapbook. Dad seemed genuinely shocked. Apparently, he had never looked through it. Karen burst into tears, claiming she was just trying to create a cohesive family narrative and didn't mean any harm. I told them I wanted every single photo of my mother returned, and if they had truly been thrown away, I wanted Karen to admit what she had done was cruel and thoughtless, not some misguided act of kindness. Karen refused to apologize. Instead, she doubled down, saying I was being selfish for not considering her feelings. She said it was painful for her to see another woman's photos in her house.
And you're being selfish by not considering her feelings. Like my what? Are you dumb? Like it's you could go both ways. Like I don't. Like when people bring that up, do you consider my feelings? No. Have you considered mine? Like what? Huh? Like seriously. When people bring that up, they don't. Nobody considers anyone's feelings. I mean, there's case scenarios, obviously, but usually, no, of course not. Why would we? But in this scenario, it's the same thing. She says the same thing back at you.
And to be constantly reminded that she wasn't my first mother figure. Dad, after his initial
Birth mother figure? That's her birth mother. What are you talking
shock,
about?
reverted to defending Karen, saying that while her methods were wrong, her intentions were good and I needed to forgive her. I realized then that nothing would change. Dad had chosen Karen over Mom's memory and over my feelings. I
That's
told him I was
stupid.
moving out permanently and that I was taking Karen's photos with me until she could understand why what she did was so hurtful. This sent Karen into a rage. She demanded her photos back, saying I was stealing her property. Dad threatened to call the police if I didn't return them. I calmly
Oh my
told them that
god,
I
can
would
you give it
gladly
to me?
explain to the police how Karen had stolen and destroyed irreplaceable family heirlooms of mine first. That shut them up quickly. I've been living with my friend for 2 weeks now. Grandma sent me all the photos she had of Mom,
Honestly,
which was a
this
significant collection, thankfully.
really
I've been
sounds
scanning
so
and digitizing
stupid.
them to ensure they're never lost again. Dad has tried reaching out, asking me to return Karen's photos and to come home so we can work things out as a family. Karen has been telling family members that I stole from her and am being vindictive over a simple misunderstanding. Most family
Uh huh.
members who knew my mom are on my
Quote
side, but some of
unquote
Dad's side of the family
misunderstanding.
think I'm being too harsh and should forgive Karen since she's not
Shut
used to
up.
dealing with grief and was just trying to help in her own way. I
No,
don't think
she's
I can
not.
ever forgive this level of disrespect and cruelty. Am I overreacting? Should I try to
Nope.
mend fences with Dad and Karen? Or is this the hill I'm willing to die on?
It depends on you. Honestly, I would say it depends. If she really understands what she did is wrong and she actually apologized for it, then I would say it's you could olive branch it. But if she tries to stay on her moral high ground for no reason at all and keeps doubling down what she did isn't that bad, then obviously yes. Yeah, I think you're fine with what you did.
Update 2 weeks later. First, I want to thank everyone for their supportive comments. Reading them helped me realize I wasn't overreacting and gave me the strength to stand my ground. 2 days after my post, my maternal aunt, Mom's sister, arrived in town. When she heard what happened from Grandma, she was furious and immediately offered to let me live with her until I could find my own place. I accepted and moved my things from my friend's apartment to my aunt's house. The same day I moved, Dad showed up at my aunt's place unannounced. He seemed different, subdued and remorseful. He asked to speak with me alone, and my aunt respected that but made it clear she was just in the next room if I needed her. Dad broke down almost immediately. He said he had been doing a lot of thinking and realized he had failed both me and Mom's memory. He admitted that he had been so focused on moving forward with his new life that he had allowed Karen to disrespect his past. He also confessed something I hadn't known. After Mom died, he had packed away most of her things because looking at them was too painful, but he had kept a small box of personal items hidden in his workshop. He brought it with him. Inside were Mom's wedding ring, some of her favorite jewelry, letters she had written to him, and a small photo album.
I mean, I understand that part. Obviously, looking at your ex-wife dead, whatever, you're trying to move on. A look at her, it brings back old memories. Like you can't really move forward because it hurts so much that you miss her basically, and you can't move forward with life. That makes sense. I understand that part. That obviously yes. At that point, it's understandable that you pack up, you know, pictures and put them in boxes and stuff like that. But what she did, whew, she threw them away.
I had never seen before. It contained photos from their early relationship and some of Mom pregnant with me. I was overcome with emotion seeing these treasures I thought were lost forever. Dad apologized profusely, saying there was no excuse for allowing Karen to throw away our family photos or for defending her actions. He said he had been in denial about how much he still missed Mom and had convinced himself that moving on meant erasing the past, which wasn't fair to me or to
No,
Mom's memory. We talked for hours. I expressed how betrayed I felt.
moving on doesn't mean forgetting. You can move on without forgetting. That's your choice, obviously. If you want to forget, you can, but it's kind of hard to forget. Sometimes you can. Normally, after a long time, it might, you might eventually stop. You won't forget, but you might eventually stop thinking about it. Eventually, maybe. That's a maybe. That's not always, and that's not for everyone. But eventually, you might stop thinking about it. You would remember, but you might eventually stop thinking about it. And that's for like a normal person. That's not for everyone. That's not for like overthinkers or anything.
Not just by Karen's actions but by his defense of her. He listened without interrupting or making excuses. Eventually, he told me that he had confronted Karen after seeing the evidence in her scrapbook and after reflecting on what he had allowed to happen. According to him, Karen initially refused to acknowledge she had done anything wrong but finally admitted she had been jealous of my relationship with Mom's memory and had acted out of insecurity, not out of concern for my well-being. Dad said he had given Karen an ultimatum: seek therapy to address her jealousy issues and apologize sincerely to me, or their marriage would be in serious jeopardy. She had reluctantly agreed to therapy but was still resistant to apologizing. I appreciated Dad's honesty and his steps toward making amends, but I told him I wasn't ready to forgive Karen and didn't feel comfortable living in their house again. He understood and offered to help me financially until I could afford my own place. He also
Honestly, at first I actually liked the dad, and then it was kind of a toss up. But now I actually like the dad again. He sounds like a good person, honestly. Sounds like a solid dude. Or girl. I don't know if they reverse the. I'm not sure if they reverse the gender. That's why sometimes when I refer as the. I try to say them because I don't know what. I don't know if they reverse the gender in the story.
promised to create digital backups of all remaining photos of Mom and to restore her presence in the family home, regardless of Karen's feelings on the matter. Before leaving, Dad asked about Karen's photos. I told him they were safe and that I would return them when I felt Karen truly understood the gravity of what she had done. He didn't push the issue, which I appreciated. The next day, I received a text from Karen. It was clearly a reluctant apology, full of phrases like "if you were hurt by my actions and I never meant to upset you." She asked for her photos back, saying she had learned her lesson. I didn't respond.
She
A few
didn't.
days later, I met with Dad again. He brought more of Mom's things he had found while going through storage and told me that he had started therapy himself to work through his unresolved grief. He mentioned that Karen was still angry about her photos but was attending therapy as promised. I decided to return most of Karen's photos as a gesture of good faith, keeping only the ones she had displayed in my room, which felt like direct replacements of Mom's photos. Since then, things have been slowly improving with Dad. We meet regularly for coffee or lunch, always just the two of us. He's been more open about Mom, sharing stories I've never heard and acknowledging how special she was. It feels like I'm getting back the dad I had right after Mom died, someone who valued her memory as much as I did. As for Karen, I've maintained my distance. Dad doesn't pressure me to reconcile with her, which I appreciate. From what he tells me, she's beginning to understand the depth of her transgression through therapy, but I'm not ready to have her in my life again just yet. My aunt has been an incredible support, and living with her has allowed me to connect with Mom's side of the family more deeply. I've discovered they have even more photos and mementos of Mom that they've shared with me. I've decided to create a memorial photo book for Mom, using all the images I've collected from various family members. I offered to make a copy for Dad, and he accepted with tears in his eyes. This experience has been incredibly painful, but it's also led to some healing. I feel closer to Mom's memory than ever, and Dad seems to be finding a healthier way to honor her while moving forward with his life. I don't
That's
know what my
good.
relationship
I
with Karen.
mean, that's what you should have done in the beginning, but for some reason he didn't do that. He just wanted to move forward without even trying to, you know, remember anything. He was trying to forget everything. Nobody says you have to forget the past in order to move forward. I mean, in some scenarios, yes, but in your relationship, you don't have to forget the past to move forward. If you want to forget the past and move forward, you could do that. But if you want, you should keep the past and then moving forward. There's different ways to do that as well. Like keep some of the past that obviously keep the entire past in a relationship that's like this. That's like a marriage. Obviously, you want to keep the entire relationship in your memory. But for like boyfriend, girlfriend, or anything, you just keep the past. Keep the ones that you keep the memories that you enjoy, and then keep moving forward. Just toss away the ones you don't. I know it's easier said than done, but still.
Will look like in the future, but I'm focusing on my own healing for now. Update 3 months later. It's been 3 months since my last update, and a
Three
lot has
months.
changed. I wanted to share these developments because many of you asked for updates and because writing about this experience has been therapeutic for me.
That
First,
makes
I've
sense.
moved into my own apartment. It's small but perfect for me, and I've decorated it with several of Mom's photos. Dad helped me with the security deposit, which felt like a meaningful gesture of support. Dad and I have continued to strengthen our relationship. We meet at least once a
As you
week, and he's
should.
been much more open about Mom. He even brought me a box of her old journals that he had kept in storage. Reading them has been an emotional but healing experience. It's like hearing her voice again after all these years. The most significant development involves Karen. About a month ago, Dad called and asked if I would be willing to meet with her and their therapist for a mediated conversation. I was hesitant but agreed after talking it through with my own therapist. Yes, I started seeing someone too, which has been incredibly helpful. The session was difficult but productive.
Oh, that's good.
Karen seemed genuinely different, more subdued and reflective. With the therapist's guidance, she gave what felt like a sincere apology. She acknowledged that her actions were driven by insecurity and jealousy, not concern for me. She admitted she had felt threatened by Mom's memory and the strong bond Dad and I shared around that memory. What surprised me most was her vulnerability. She revealed that she had been previously married to a man who never stopped talking about his ex-girlfriend, making Karen feel like she was always second best. When she saw how present Mom still was in
Oh,
our lives, it triggered those old feelings of inadequacy.
that
She
makes
feared Dad would always love Mom more
sense.
than her, and that I would never accept her.
I mean, in a sense, yes. But it doesn't mean you can't love somebody else. Once somebody's dead, you would always love them. They're always going to be, you might always bring up stories about them. They might always pop up, whatever. And of course, you're going to love them, of course, always. It's just, you are his new wife or whatever. So, of course, he's going to love you just as much as he loved his previous wife.
Because I was still so connected to Mom. This didn't excuse her actions, and both the therapist and Karen acknowledged that. But it helped me understand where her behavior came from. It wasn't just malice, it
Yeah,
was
obviously
deep-seated
it
fear and
does.
insecurity. The
Mm-hmm.
therapist asked if I would be willing to share what the photos meant to me. I explained that they weren't just images but connections to memories I feared I might lose: Mom teaching me to ride a bike, our beach trips, her laugh, the way she would sing while cooking.
Yeah, because photos are better than memory. Like your memory, obviously, you won't technically forget. 'Cause that's kind of improbable to actually forget something, but you might not actually recall something correctly, and it might be not 100% there in your forethought. So, I mean, just because, so photo is a lot easier. Because once you see a photo, you're like, oh yeah, that's how it went. So it makes sense for photos because people say photos are 1,000 words. So of course, when you see a photo, be like, oh yeah, that's it. That's the way it went. because it triggers a memory inside your brain.
I told Karen that by throwing away those photos, she hadn't just discarded paper, she had tried to erase parts of my history that I cherished. Karen listened without interrupting or defending herself. At the end of the session, she gave me a USB drive. On it were scans of photos I had never seen before, pictures of Mom that Dad's parents had in their collection. Karen had gone to my paternal grandparents and asked for any photos they had of Mom, then spent hours scanning them. It wasn't a replacement for what was lost, but it was a meaningful effort to make amends. Since that session, we've had limited but civil contact. I've been to their house for dinner twice, and while things aren't perfect, they're better. Karen has
Yeah.
stopped trying to position
Okay.
herself as my mother figure and seems to be developing a more appropriate stepmother relationship.
That's true. She that's a good relationship because obviously not all step parents have to be parents. They have to be step parents. They're there when they need to be there. Like depending on state, there's difference. If we're talking, just toss out state law and everything. Obviously, there's things that parents can and can't do. But what they can do is be there, and they also could do a lot of things like ground you and obviously take away all your stuff and stuff like that. And then obviously, uh, they could discipline you, I guess, in some scenarios. Not in like major ways, but they can do some things. Not a lot of things though. I don't think so. I don't know. I don't really know much about. I don't know about much about step parent laws or something like that. Because there's things they can't do as a step parent. There's things they can't do.
With me. Dad has restored some of Mom's photos to the family home, creating a balance that acknowledges both his past and present. Last weekend, Dad, Karen, and I visited Mom's grave together for the first time. Karen brought flowers and stood back respectfully while Dad and I had our moment. Afterward, she asked if I would tell her about some of my favorite memories with Mom. It was the first time she had expressed
Huh?
genuine interest in hearing
That's
about
good.
Mom rather than trying to erase her. I'm not saying everything is resolved or that Karen and I will ever
Of
have a
course
close
not.
relationship. There's too much water under the bridge for that. But we're finding a way to coexist respectfully, and Dad seems happier and more at peace now that he doesn't feel torn between us. As for
That's
me,
good.
I've realized that Mom's memory doesn't live in photos alone. It lives in the stories we tell, in the values she instilled in me, and in the parts of her that I carry forward in my own life. I
Yep,
still
that's
cherish every
true.
photo I have of
Whatever
her,
she
but I know
teaches
now
you
that
in
even
life.
if every image disappeared, she would never truly be gone. I want to thank everyone who offered support and advice during this difficult time. Your words helped me navigate one of the most painful experiences of my life with grace and strength. I hope my story might help others dealing with blended family conflicts or the complex emotions that come with grieving a parent while trying to accept a step parent. Mom taught me that family isn't always about blood, sometimes it's about choice and effort. I'm choosing to put effort into healing my family relationships while still honoring her memory. I think she would be proud of that.
Yeah, she would be, honestly. It is true that you do have to continue moving forward. And you have to choose what person you are going to be, basically, at the end of the day. You have to choose if you want to forgive her for doing that or not. You want to bury them both there because there's a lot of ways these stories could go. There's a million different paths you could take. Obviously, like what she did in the beginning, threw away all the pictures. The way she could have done that, the way that the the, the character, the person in the story, that person that's telling the story, the way they can actually do it was they left the house and cut off all contact with the family and just 100% left by themselves, and that'd be the end of the story, or slightly the end of the story because there's gonna be a bunch of people trying to contact, reach out, yada yada yada, and then you have to reflect on your actions. You have to reflect if you did the right thing, whatever, yada yada yada, stuff like that. Basically, like I said, there's choices. You get choices, and whatever choice you choose is the choice you have to live with. you could always you can always backpedal, but it's kind of hard to backpedal once you choose a choice. Once you choose your choice, it's kind of hard to backpedal and choose a different choice. There's scenarios, yes, but it's hard. But okay, um, my stepmother threw away every photo I had of my late mother, then replaced them with photos of herself. And that was Dead Spies Reddit Stories React. Oh, thank God I said it correctly. Not good, but oh shit.